Season 1, Episode 5, Consequences That Teach, How to Follow Through Without Shame. Welcome to the Love Your Child podcast. I am Nabeela Gangat, an educational psychologist, and this is Season 1 held the foundational years. In Season 1, Episode 4, we spoke about correcting in the moment, how to stay firm without becoming harsh, how to pause first, how to use fewer words, how to name your child's behavior, hold the boundary, and finally offer two acceptable choices. But once the boundary has been held, many parents ask the next question: what happens now? What do I do after I have said no? What if my child keeps repeating the same behavior? What consequence is fair? And how do I follow through without shouting, threatening, or shaming? That is what this episode is about. Season 1, Episode 5 is called Consequences That Teach, How to Follow Through Without Shame. Because consequences are part of discipline, but consequences should not be about negative discipline or fear-based discipline. They should not be about making a child feel small. They should not be about proving who has the power. A helpful consequence should always teach. It should help a child understand cause and effect. It should help a child recognize responsibility, and it should help a child learn what to do differently next time. Developmental psychologist Martin Hoffman wrote about inductive discipline. This means discipline is not only about asking, how do I stop my child's behavior? It also asks, how do I help my child understand what happened? Who was affected? What needs to change, and what can be done differently next time? That shift matters. Punishment often asks, how do I make my child pay for this? Discipline asks, how do I help my child learn from this? That is the heart of consequences that teach. Today, we will look at 5 practical ways to follow through without shame. 1. Use when, then. 2. Follow through calmly. 3. Use natural consequences. 4. Use logical consequences. And finally, 5. Teach your child the replacement behavior. Let's begin with the first one. Use when, then. Some discipline moments are actually routine moments. Getting dressed, putting shoes on, homework, screen time, packing away, bath time, bedtime. These moments can quickly become daily battles. When, then helps children understand sequence. It teaches that one thing happens before the next thing. For example, when your shoes are on, then we can go outside. When homework is done, then screen time can begin. When the toys are packed away, then we can read. When your teeth are brushed, then we can choose a story. This is not a bribe, and it is definitely not a threat. It is a simple sequence. It says, this happens first, then the next thing can happen. It is clearer than arguing, and it is calmer than repeated warnings. The teaching moment is this: your child is learning that responsibility often comes before the next activity. The second practical step is follow through calmly. A boundary becomes believable when our words and actions match. Many parents give too many warnings. They warn, then warn again, then explain, then get louder, then threaten something bigger, then feel guilty, then finally give in. And the child learns that the boundary changes depending on how far they can push. Calm follow-through is different. It means we say what will happen and then we do what was said. For example, if the toy is thrown again, I will put it away. If the toy is thrown again, you do not need a long speech. You simply say, I am putting it away now. Toys are not for throwing. That is enough. The follow-through does the teaching, not the shouting, not the repeated warning, not the long lecture. Say less, mean it more. Follow through calmly. And most important, choose consequences you can actually keep. A smaller consequence that you can follow through is stronger than a big threat you cannot keep. Instead of saying, if you do that again, we are never coming here again, try. If you run again, you will need to hold my hand. The teaching moment is this. Your child is learning that limits are real and that adults can hold them without becoming frightening or scary. The third practical step is use natural consequences. Natural consequences happen because of the behavior itself. They are connected to real life. They are not created to punish. For example, if water is spilled on purpose, your child helps wipe it. If a toy is used roughly, the toy may need a break. If something is broken, your child can help repair what can be repaired. Natural consequences teach cause and effect. They help a child learn what I do has an effect, but we must use wisdom. Natural consequences are not appropriate when a child's safety is at risk. We do not allow a child to run into a road so they can learn naturally that roads are dangerous. Safety always comes first. But when it is safe and appropriate, natural consequences can teach responsibility without shame. For example, here is the cloth, you need to help clean it. That teaches repair, not humiliation. The teaching moment is this. Your child is learning that actions have real effects and that when we create a mess, we help repair it. The fourth practical step is use logical consequences. Logical consequences are created by the parent, but they still directly connect to your child's behavior. They are helpful when natural consequences are not enough, not safe, or not immediate. A logical consequence should be related, respectful, and reasonable. Related means it connects to what actually happened. Respectful means it does not shame or humiliate a child. Reasonable means it is not extreme or out of proportion. For example, if a child runs away in the store, the consequence is not no bedtime story tonight. That is not connected. A connected consequence is you need to hold my hand or sit in the trolley. Because the issue is safety, if a child throws a toy, the consequence is not you cannot go to your cousin's house next week. A connected consequence is the toy is going away for now, because the toy was not being used safely. If screen time ends in screaming every day, a logical consequence may be screen time is finished for today, we will try again tomorrow, because screen time also requires learning how to stop. Logical consequences should not make a child suffer. They should help the child connect the behavior with responsibility, and they should be close enough to the behavior for the child to understand the lesson in the moment. For young children, a consequence that happens much later often loses power. If the blocks are thrown now, the blocks take a break now. If running in the shop is unsafe now, your child holds your hand immediately. The consequence should help the child connect the dots. The teaching moment is this. Your child is learning that choices have outcomes and that those outcomes make sense. The fifth practical step is teach the replacement behavior. This is one of the most important parts of positive discipline. Sometimes we tell children what to stop doing, but we do not teach them what to do instead. We say, stop shouting. But what should the child do with that big feeling? We say, stop grabbing. But what words can the child use? We say, stop running. But what movement is the child allowed to do? A child needs replacement behavior. Instead of only saying, stop shouting, try, use your normal voice. Instead of only saying, stop grabbing, try, please ask for a turn or wait your turn. Instead of only saying, do not run, try, walking feet inside. Instead of only saying, stop hitting, try, hands down, you can stomp your feet if you are feeling angry. This matters because discipline is not only about stopping the incorrect behavior, it is about teaching the next right step. Sometimes the best consequence is practice. If your child runs in the parking lot, practice holding hands. If your child grabs, practice asking. If your child shouts, practice trying again with a calmer voice. You can say, let's try that again. Show me how you can ask. Let's walk back and do it safely. Children learn through repetition, not just correction. So when we give them the replacement behavior, we are building the skill behind the rule. Now let's bring this together. Consequences that teach are not harsh, and they are definitely not permissive. They sit somewhere in the middle. Warmth with structure, love with limits, correction with learning. A child can experience a consequence and still feel emotionally safe. A child can be corrected and still feel loved. A child can be disappointed and still feel held, but a child should not be humiliated. A consequence should never need shame to work. Mocking, embarrassing, exposing, comparing, making the child feel small. These may create compliance in the moment, but they do not create healthy learning for your child. Shame makes children want to hide. Responsibility helps children learn what to do next. So before you give a consequence, pause and ask, is this connected to what happened? Is it respectful? Is it reasonable? Can I actually follow through with it? Does it help my child understand, repair, or try again? There is discipline without disconnection. So the next time you need to follow through, remember these 5 things. 1. Use when, then. 2. Follow through calmly. 3. Use natural consequences where appropriate. 4. Use logical consequences when needed. 5. And teach the replacement behavior. Because the goal is not only to stop your child's behavior today, the goal is to help your child develop the skills they will need tomorrow. Skills like responsibility, self-control, empathy, repair, and the ability to try again. That is what consequences can teach. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Love Your Child podcast. This has been Season 1, Episode 5, Consequences That Teach, part of Season 1 held the foundational years. In the next episode, we will continue this discipline arc by looking at repair, routines, and responsibility, because discipline does not end when the behavior stops. The deeper work is helping children understand, repair, and grow. A gentle reminder, this podcast is for educational and reflective purposes only. It does not replace therapy, psychological assessment, medical advice, or individualized professional support. If you are concerned about your child's behavior, development, emotional well-being, or safety, please consult a suitably qualified professional. And please remember, your child does not require a perfect parent. They need a parent who keeps finding their way back to connection, guidance, repair, and love. Thank you for being here. See you in the next episode.